Well, thanks once again, Salma. I promised that I haven't just bumped Jim off the stage. Sadly, he's been taken ill today, so he's unable to attend. But you'll just have to make do with me in his seat. But that's okay, because we do have Filippo here. So Filippo, welcome to the stage, and thank you for putting up with me instead of the planned original programming.
Yeah, thank you for helping me with last-minute change, and Jim, feel better.
Okay, yeah. So, I'm sure he'll be up on his feet again soon. So, okay, so we only have 20 minutes or so. So let's jump straight into it. So we can see some logos on the slides already here. Perhaps a good place to start would be a bit of context setting. Could we talk a tiny bit about the project that we're going to talk about? Let's just kind of lay the foundation for what we're going to be discussing. What was the project?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is a beautiful success story of how Chili's migrated from a monolith to a fully composable architecture and becoming one of the fastest growing brands in the UK, and really early adopters of headless and composable approach. We are very proud to power their transactional engine, and we are very thankful to Rotate. They selected us as this transactional engine for the stack, and I would say that Jim and Rotate, were really precursor in the headless and composable approach. So at some point, they were running already running on a headless website with 5 Shopify instances to power the checkout experience for 5 different regions, and they wanted to scale more. They wanted to expand their business in more countries with more localized experiences and also business rules. So they replaced Shopify with Commerce Layer with one instance, to power the checkout experience for Chili's. So yeah, that's the context.
Great, and so Chili's. As we know, I think I've seen a few Chili's water bottles around today already. But Rotate with a lead agency working on that project, and presumably had a relationship with Chili's before, and they selected Commerce Layer, you say, to enable that part of the project.
Absolutely, yeah. They were already clients of Rotate, and in this journey started before Commerce Layer. Actually, we have a timeline here.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and it started in 2016, so really early adopters. And initially it was Jim told me that it was a Squarespace website, a landing page that with 2 regional Shopify stores. Like the landing page was using to essentially route customers both in one store or the other. Then I would say the main driver of going headless was the customer experience. They wanted to enhance the customer experience of their website, and so they built a beautiful website, migrating first to Craft CMS and Shopify, and then did another migration in 2019 from Craft to Data CMS, which is a great CMS, and I'm building the front end with Next.js.
So sorry to interrupt you. So it sounds like there's a few iterations of the site, or not just iterations of the site, versions of the site, almost kind of platforms for the site before you got involved, before this project, kind of hailing all the way back to 2016.
Yeah, right. Actually, Jim told me, that in 2016, they did the last replatforming for Chili's. And after that, it was all about iterating and swapping components of their stack and getting one more level towards the fully composable architecture. Yeah. So when they reached out to us, they were with Data CMS using serverless functions and Next.js and Shopify, as I said. And so they did the migration, and they also did it in a because the project was initially to keep the website and the experience that was really already beautiful, but they did it even better. So they kept everything, the website, the code design, everything, and they really swapped Shopify with Commerce Layer. Yeah. They did it incrementally again. They wanted to. They did it incrementally, but very fastly, because. If I remember correctly, in 5 weeks, they migrated, one region by region from Shopify to Commerce Layer. And this is also a pretty common approach that we always recommend to our clients. If they are already on a platform, let's follow an incremental approach. Let's test them, be very and check also the numbers are right. We have another client which is SumUp, and they migrated from a homegrown solution to commerce layer, and they started doing with one country A/B testing checkout, sending like 80% of the traffic to their existing checkout and 20% to commerce layer, then 50-50, then 20-80, 100%, 2 countries, 3 countries, and so on.
Yeah.
So, and in this case, so after swapping, the transactional engine, they did a new design, a beautiful design, also to launch a new product, which was the Series 2 version of their
Interesting.
bottles.
So their first phase, the plan was to have no visual iteration.
Exactly.
So the end user would be blissfully unaware that they'd been swapping out some of the tooling underneath.
Apart from the checkout, because
apart from the checkout,
yeah, exactly.
Right. But the rest of the experience was intended to be right. We're not going to redesign that at the same time. No. Let's get our house in order, move into a platform and a set of tools that we can work with more effectively, and start to iterate, hopefully to unlock some of these capabilities. But get that in order first, and then move along. But the checkout changed.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah,
okay,
exactly. And from there, they expanded. The original plan was to expand to new markets. Now they are running 36 countries, 5 languages, 15 currencies, really, and also different payment methods for different markets. They can support essentially any local payment method in the different markets.
And can I just check? I'm sorry to keep interrupting you in your flow, but as you talk about the number of different regions and territories that they're working in, what was that situation before? Were they also a multi-region site? But there were challenges with that, or was that something that was new that came with this, it was this evolution?
It's a scalability story, because they started in 2016 with 2 Shopify stores, 2 regions, 2 Shopify stores.
Yeah.
Then they expanded to 5 regions, 5 Shopify stores, and then with commerce layer, 36 countries. And when I say, not just shipping countries, different countries with different, let's say, business rules and configuration, because it is when you expand internationally, it is all about localizing your experience. Right. You want your customers to pay with their payment methods. You don't want to be locked by one single payment gateway, for example. You really want to customize the experience also from a transactional perspective. I would say starting from checkout.
Yeah. Interesting. And so as Rotate brought you into this project, had you worked with Rotate before, or was this your first time working with this particular agency? Yeah,
this was not the first client that they brought to Commerce Layer. They started with a smaller client. They wanted to test us a bit.
They testing you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was beginning of 2020. We didn't even raise our Series A yet, so we're a small company. Right. And and so they wanted to test us with smaller clients, and then we gained the trust of Rotate, and eventually at some point they decided to bring one of their best customers to Commerce Layer.
Absolutely, nice. Yeah. And it just occurs to me that we've kind of jumped into some of this, perhaps before even giving some details about exactly what Commerce Layer do, because I think it might be easy to imagine that you handle a whole host of different things, and perhaps this is something we'll come on to later. We might jump backwards and forwards. I might be jumping us around in the slides. Forgive me, but yeah, could we perhaps do some just talk about what jobs Commerce Layer does and what you provide? Yeah,
thanks for asking.
Okay.
so Commerce Layer is built on 3 pillars. We are headless, for sure. We are a purely API-first platform, so we didn't add an API to an existing monolithic platform. We built Commerce Layer, we designed Commerce Layer as an API from day one. And this makes the difference when it comes to, you work with an API-first mindset. Everything we do starts with an API, and then we also build some UIs on top of our APIs. But yeah, it's APIs and documentation. Sometimes I feel we are more like a documentation-driven development rather than API-driven development. And so, yeah, that's the number one. And documentation, yesterday we were talking about like owning the arrows between the different components. And for sure, Netlify Graph can facilitate also that, that integration layer. But yeah, I mean, a great documentation is really, it's part of the product, and I believe it's has to be.
I agree. I think documentation sells. Is this embarrassing to admit? I've fallen in love with products because of good documentation in the past. I think documentation is one of the most powerful forms of marketing for API-driven services.
Yeah, we have clients.
I'm a huge fan of that.
We have clients also here today that they told us that selected commerce layer also because the documentation was really part of their selection process. So I don't think it's. I mean, it's a great thing to.
Okay, I'm amongst friends admitting that. Okay,
yeah. Absolutely. And so, yeah, the second aspect, I would say, the second pillar is that we are a purely transactional platform. I try to explain what it means.
Please.
So we really focus on the commerce side, not on content. And when I say content, I also include the product catalog and the product information that typically lives in your e-commerce platform. Okay. Often when a user signs up to commerce layer, they start looking for product categories and product translations and stuff like that, and they don't find it because it's not there.
Right.
We start from the SKU, and for each SKU you can, which is like the variant, if you have product and variants, and then from the SKU you can define different prices, different price lists, promotions, availability with different inventory strategy, distributed inventory models, and so on. So we really focus on the transactional aspect. And this makes our solution really composable, because we really focus and we try to be the best at what we do instead of like doing more, otherwise the risk is to become like a headless monolith like someone is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure that every monolith grew from, some small seed that slowly expanded. And presumably this also means that you're a compelling choice for organizations who already are very happy with the way that they're managing either their product content or they may have a product information management system that they're using already, and they don't want to throw that away. They've presumably got a huge or potentially a large investment in crafting that, populating that, and working with that. So you plug into that rather than saying you need to bring that product information into. Okay, I see.
So that's very. I mean, if you have, if we work with a client that has already a CMS, a digital experience platform, whatever, we really make it, we make that content shoppable. Whatever the way they use to manage that content or to deliver that content, we make that shoppable. So we are very unobtrusive, so to speak.
Sorry to interrupt once again. I mean, how opinionated are you about those aspects? So, for instance, is it a much more compelling combination for you to be coupled with a PIM or a traditional content management system or something else? Are there pros and cons, or is there a recommended approach that you prefer?
I mean, for sure, we promote headless CMSs, and a PIM if you can afford it. Typically, the larger brands have a PIM. The smaller brands don't have a PIM, but they use the headless CMS to manage the catalog.
Almost as a PIM.
Exactly. Yeah. And so yeah, I mean, we would definitely recommend to get a PIM if you don't have one, but in case you want to, you can use your CMS to do that. To do that.
Got it.
Great. So yeah, the third pillar is, and also one of the main reasons why Rotate and Chill is selected commerce layer is because we are multi-market by design. So everything in commerce layer can be defined by market, and we enable really great flexibility when it comes to expand internationally. Yeah.
And that kind of flows through all of the transaction kind of process.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And we learned that from I met my co-founder and CTO Massimo when we used to work with one of the best global luxury brands, and we had the chance to learn a lot, and we tried to wrap all our learnings into an API, which was funny to design.
Wrapping all of our learnings into an API. I love that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Another question, which might be a slight tangent. I mean, are you finding the adoption of your platform and perhaps also other platforms in a similar space is happening more by a particular kind of organization or market? I mean, are there certain types of companies or brands which are embracing this more and others are a little bit more slow to adopt it or a bit more reticent about this approach?
Well, I'd say this is very linked to the customer experience that you want to design. So for sure, luxury and premium brands are driving this evolution, because they are the brands that really want to differentiate themselves from the others, in terms of the customer experience. But actually, every customer now deserves a luxury experience, and so I would say that it's not just about fashion, luxury, and design. It is really becoming very popular across all industries, and we have fashion brands, we have gaming brands, digital and physical products, so it's very, very cross-industry.
Awesome. I'm conscious that we skipped along before probably getting to the end of the timeline and seeing where we are in the project. Is it possible to go back to our timeline and say where do we live in the project?
Yeah.
So where are we right now? So is everything live? And I think I heard the expression earlier on, web experiences are never done, which makes me think, it's like fashion. Fashion is never finished.
Yeah,
so I guess that's maybe the same for here. But where are we now that we've reached 2022?
I mean, this is all live. This is functional, and it's growing for sure because also the expansion of the brand geographically, and not just geographically, but also in terms of the different ways of selling is not done for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure Rotate will have beautiful ideas to also enhance the experience and to find new ways of expanding the business of Chili's.
Got you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do we have anything more that we should talk about here, or maybe could we talk about Jim would know. Jim wouldn't be making these kind of mistakes.
Exactly.
But are we able to talk about some of the results and the learnings? That'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, in over 5 years, the brand, Chili's grew a lot. Jim shared that they had like 750% increase in turnover, and also more than 40% drop in total cost of ownership, which is interesting, because very often or sometimes, the composable approach is perceived as an expensive approach compared to others, which it can be true, for a project, but I mean, you have to measure the return of investment. You have to measure the total cost of ownership as you scale. And this is really an interesting point.
Am I reading those numbers right? That's a 42% drop in total cost of ownership?
Yeah.
And a 750% increase. Okay,
exactly.
I just wanted to make sure I was reading those correctly. That seems staggering to me.
It's
amazing.
And also for the agency, for Rotate, thanks to this project, their website, it's a multi-award-winning website experience. So, they're really happy. Everyone is happy in this story.
I'll bet they are. Yeah. So great. So what kind of other learnings are there from kind of this kind of a project, this experience that you went through with Rotate and with Chili's? What are the kind of key things that you might have there? So
I'll say that, the first one is you should be able, and also the role of an agency is to help the customer to look around the corner, because there is always, and you plan for the unplannable. This is unplannable. This is how Jim described this approach. Let's try to see beyond the next 3 months, something like that. Yeah. So, and you want to build your platform to scale. You really don't want to, build something that will hit some roadblocks at some point. You want something to scale. We already spoke about the great return of investment. The fact that they did the last replatform in 2016, and they don't plan to do any other replatform. Eventually they will swap components, but not a new replatforming.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, exactly. So following an incremental approach, and one of my favorites is that Headless has become really more accessible than ever. This is.
So what do you mean by that?
Oh yeah, it's. Headless and composable, again, are perceived like an enterprise-only thing. Instead, with the tools that we have nowadays, with Netlify and Commerce Layer and Contentful and other, a lot of tools that are available, this is becoming accessible also to the smaller brands and smaller projects. So you get enterprise-grade features, but you can make available. You can make these features available to anyone. So this is, and also, this links to the scalability. You can start small in a headless and composable approach, and add more and more to your stack to the North Star, which is like the ideal that doesn't exist.
I mean, I love that kind of as a closing thought, the fact that these approaches and these technologies are becoming more readily available to people across all kinds of projects and enterprises. It feels like so many of the tools that we get to use as developers now and as people working on complex projects, even if we're not part of a large organization, those tools that are available to us just would have been completely out of reach in the past. And so I love that as a kind of a closing thought on the learnings from the project. Thank you so much for sharing, well, first of all, for sharing the stage with me.
Thank you.
I've been up here plenty today.
You saved my life.
So I'm sorry we didn't have Jim, but Filippo, thank you so much for sharing these insights. Congratulations on a great project. It sounds, I mean, some of those numbers are ridiculous. So I'm sure Jim would have been very happy with this, and I'm sure that Chili's are also delighted. So thank you once again. I think a round of applause, please, for Filippo Conforti.
Thank you. Thank you.